Welcome back, everyone, to PoGoRaids live draft. Today we'll be covering a Great League lobby, the Great League Lantern division. I'm Sliphorn. You know me from previous drafts. I play a lot of Masters Classic, our OU draft, but today we'll actually be a participant in this live draft. And here to roast me is the one, the only Jangles.
Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, I mean, I have done these drafts before, a few. I'm defending Ultra League champion right now, but I'll definitely make fun of your picks if they're bad. So we have
They
that understood right
certainly
now.
will be.
We will see.
So, a couple rules for those who are uninitiated. Each player has a total of 15 minutes to make their picks in our live drafts. So, you will be able to see the clocks running on the stream. If they use up all 15 minutes, they have to wait till the end to make their picks. And this is a chess clock style, so it is the full 6 picks for 15 minutes. Not 15 minutes per pick. We don't have that much time. Once Pokemon has been chosen, it cannot be chosen by another drafter. They could use either Shadow or non-Shadow, but different regional forms are different picks. Participants can TM between battles, between opponents, but not between battles. Today's is just a draft stream, so we won't be seeing any battles, but feel free to come back in the future for our draft recaps. And battles will occur over the next few weeks. And if you want to see anything featured, go ahead and shoot us a message, and we will talk to our participants about that. The only ban we have is Buzzwole, but before the draft ends, there are 2 ban rounds. It is a snake draft, so first person gets first pick, but then has to wait until the end of the second round for their next pick. And bans begin with the last player, which is actually me.
Yeah, I was a little confused at first in the production thing about the 15 minutes, but we'll see. 15-minute total is interesting because does that include the ban rounds as a question as well?
We didn't talk about that, so I think we're gonna go with no, not the ban rounds.
Okay.
But the ban round should be pretty quick. Great League itself is pretty straightforward
Yeah.
as far as bans go.
Yeah. I think
Sorry,
that's
I'm getting.
oh.
Go ahead.
No, I said I think that's kind of that is pretty straightforward with Great League. The draft or the bans are pretty. It's mostly the OP Pokemon that everybody knows. The draft gets a little bit more unique and more spicy with the bans. So yeah, definitely probably won't take too long to get through the ban round.
Yeah, you really just have to choose what you don't want to fight against. So for me, I'm gonna lead off with banning Sneezler. Sneezler is a Pokemon that came up in our discussions. So
Yeah.
far, the only things truly banned in any of our PoGoRaids competitions are things that are paywalled. So Buzzwole, unfortunately, came with GoFest research, so we're not allowing that for the Great League level. It is allowed for all of our other drafts, but you did have to pay to get something under 1,500.
Yeah.
Sneezler, though, requires a low level account, so you need to have someone new who's playing for one specific week who is then willing to trade you a low level Pokemon. Um, so
Yeah.
I want it out of the way.
And its typing and moveset makes it a little uncomfortable for some in like a restricted meta. But so far we're seeing the steals going, which isn't surprising at all. Nobody wants to play against a Registeel or a G-Fisk when you have limited counters and limited options for them.
Right. So my expectations for bans are just bulky Pokemon that are hard to kill without something very, very specific.
Yep, that
And
makes
we
sense.
see those coming right off the top.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody likes Registeel. G-Fisk is just so flexible. Umbreon is interesting because it actually does have a fair number of counters. But again, it's just something that's so bulky, such a great safe swap.
In draft, it's very hard to line up like hard counters onto things, and the fact that Umbreon pretty much doesn't lose a single neutral matchup makes it a very tempting ban that you just don't want to go against something that can just out bulk you and beat you in any scenario pretty much.
Yeah, I unfortunately got smashed by an Umbreon in my last v17 battles. I had a Azu Ghost Core up against a Venusaur Umbreon Core, and I picked the lead strong all 4 games.
Yep, that is that's how it goes sometimes, unfortunately. And then Bastodon, not surprised at all. Nobody wants to. If you don't have a fighter, steel, or a fighter or a ground like mud boy type, you're pretty much gonna lose against Bastodon. So,
Yep, for some very, very tanky water. It's tough.
and now we await our next ban here. And I'm surprised that we didn't see. I mean, I'm not surprised by any of the bans, but I'm surprised we haven't seen Sableye yet. It's a very prominent Pokemon, considering it has one weakness and can win most of the neutral matchups. Like, it usually seems to be one of the first things people ban, but I'm sure it won't make it through.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see Sableye banned. Um, one that I know gets banned often is Licky Tongue, just because people hate
Yeah,
playing against it.
and that's an interesting thing about bans, is that sometimes people know that certain things are gonna get banned, so their ban will be a little bit more specific to them, and they won't like see the Azu here, like probably every other player could have been like, oh, well, you know what? I know Azu's going to get banned eventually. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be the person that bans Azu because somebody else will do it. And that's when it gets a little dangerous because then something might sneak through and nobody banned it when everybody wanted it banned. Uh,
We've
Nido
got
Queen up next.
Nidoqueen too. I
Nice.
like the Nidoqueen ban. I mean, it's just so
Yeah.
good coming in off a swap, being able to debuff and leave. It is really tough to deal with. And there's our
Yeah.
Sableye pick.
There we go. Sableye and Nido Queen are two of the most oppressive Pokemon if you can't counter them, because they can just start running through whole teams if they're resisting damage and dealing a lot of neutral damage, and just good to see them gone. It'll open up some other Pokemon to be able to shine in the draft format.
We can speculate. I'm guessing Trevenant doesn't make it through this, or Metacham. Again,
No.
just two really strong neutral matchup Pokemon that you need
Yeah.
specific counters for.
Yeah. I would guess that those for sure. Um, I'd guess Altaria will get banned just because of its flexibility and its typing of just being able to beat almost anything that's not an ice type or a steel type. Even
Yeah,
some of the rock types don't have good matchups with it because it outbulks them, and the dragon breath damage is just so oppressive.
yeah. Dragon Breath really does start to add up, especially when you are such a bulky Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I think what we're just going to see for these ban rounds, and probably the first round, maybe round and a half of the actual draft, for those who are unfamiliar with draft, you're really looking at flexible Pokemon that win strong neutral matchups.
Yep.
Um, because you want, unless you want to rock paper scissors your opponent every time, you really want the ability to manage shields, manage energy, make good switch decisions, and all of these things besides Bastiodon let you do that. Bastiodon is the rock paper scissors Pokemon that nobody wants to lose to and nobody wants to deal with.
Yeah. A lot of times the early Pokemon that people draft end up being um a lot of like their safe swaps and their cores and flexible
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and then they try to the later picks end up being people drafting counters for people's first and second round picks, like core breakers for teams that they think that they have problems with. So get all these Pokemon are pretty much incredible safe swaps outside of the Basti, so it's not surprising that those are ones that people don't want to have to worry about. I see in the chat about Walrein not getting banned. I think that it probably still does, but it could slip through. But it's definitely really strong still. So if Walrein slips through, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go in the first or second pick of like the actual draft if it were to make it. So
Yeah, I was having a discussion yesterday about Walrein and its fall from grace, but I don't think it's really fallen from grace. It's still bulky. It still has great moves, great coverage.
yeah,
It's just a little less spammy, but it is still a great Pokemon. Just not that tier 0.
no, yeah, it's still it's moveset having basically perfect coverage outside of a couple of things makes it pretty solid. So I don't think that it's gonna fall completely off of the map. I still would be surprised if it didn't get banned here.
Flume, the timer counting. So we actually didn't have that problem the last time we live drafted because there were no bans. So for right now, just for the ban round, we're going to go ahead and not have them timed because they should be going rather quickly.
Yeah.
Except for fatal error, apparently.
Yeah, there was a fatal error on his behalf of being here on time. So
Yeah. We did make sure everybody was available before this started. The pings went out, but we're just waiting.
he's having a very very tough choice right now.
Yeah, I know, right? So many great things to ban. At my point, I know that powerful Pokemon are gonna sneak through, so I just really want to ban things I don't want to see at this point.
Oh, for sure. I think that that's the best strategy. So pick something that you don't want to deal with, and that also is good. And usually the good things are the ones you don't want to deal with, so that kind of goes hand in hand without saying. But yeah.
So I'm trying to think ahead to my team because I know I'm gonna have the wheel pick, and things I could possibly take, which I know is a long way off. But I think I'm gonna go largely safe swaps this time. I managed to get Azu last time early, which is not available now. But I was actually really disappointed with it in a draft format. It was able to bulk through certain things, but getting anything lined up against it was really tough. So I know that there's a lot of new Pokemon with our new moves available that I think will be making some large splashes. And I see something in the chat wondering when our first Fairy Wind user is going to go. And I'm wondering if it's going to be Jumpluff.
I like Jumpluff. I kind of so looking at it, right? Um, an interesting thing is that you get a lot of the counters for Galarian Wheezing will probably be banned. So you get a lot of steel types get banned, and you get like some of the mud boys, some of the ground Pokemon. Like Galarian Wheezing seems like it's going to be a very strong draft play if it doesn't get banned, because I could see somebody not wanting to deal with it if they're based on their strategy. Like I think that might be the first Fairy Wind user, but I am interested to see where some of these new Pokemon with new moves go. Like um, Miltank is interesting. If you're telling me that hey, there's a meta with no Azu, no Basti, no G-Fist, no Registeel, and you can have Tackle Miltank out there just running neutral matchups against everything, like it doesn't sound like a bad time.
So when the update went live last Tuesday, the first thing I did was build a Miltank and take it into open, and it was lackluster because I kept running into Swamperts. I was running Rollout too. I kept running into Swamperts. I kept running into G-Fisks. I finally get someone to safe swap to a Talonflame, so I bring in my Miltank, and I'm just like, oh man, Rollout, double super effective, and unfortunately, Rollout does 0 damage.
Yeah, that's the thing about it is Rollout seemed really strong for it with like the energy generation, but it seems almost unanimous that Tackle Miltank is better just off of the strength of the damage that it does, like being able to hit with a water gun lick type clone, normal damage, so it's resisted by very few things and just kind of can muscle its way through Pokemon.
Yeah, that's Stab Tackle. So we had an internal discussion. We are going to skip over Fatal Error's bans. They will get to pick at the very end unless they come back sooner. And we're going to keep this show rolling.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we see a Metachamp go, which I love because I hate fighting Metachamp.
It's just so bulky, man. Like having access to counter, having good moves like Psychic, having Power Up Punch, and just like being able to muscle through things with that kind of bulk with the best moves. Okay. We see some usual suspects on ban list coming up after that. Trevenant is obviously just disgustingly good. Water Pokemon excel in drafts, and fighting Pokemon excel in drafts, and Trevenant beats both of them. So no, somebody's gonna not allow that through. And then Scrafty. Scrafty is a tough one to deal with. A fighter that beats Psychic types, like, get it out of here. Glad to see it gone.
Yep, and we see Altaria, the bulky Dragon Breath user, is gone.
Yep. This is pretty
Nothing
by
we
the
didn't
books, I would
expect.
say, so far. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, the spiciest band pick so far has been you. So I can't even roast you for being basic or anything. Like,
Thank
you
you.
actually picked something that was interesting. So
And Sneezler's still at the top of the rankings too.
it is
Oh,
good. It is kind of a little bit of like a sim hero type, based off of, like, being able to bait anything that can bait with like a close combat
mhm.
type nuke. Always, those rankings are a little hard to accurately generate, but it's definitely a really strong Pokemon either way. So
I do hate losing to bait moves. Nothing is as infuriating to me. So I respect all of these bans. Oh, it looks like we've got Kanto Ninetales coming in as a ban.
that is that is our first surprise one, I
That
would
is,
say.
yeah,
That
that is
is
pretty spicy.
I like the double clarification on Kanto. Like, make sure that we're talking about the right one here, but
So
that
looking
does
just
make
at the
some
top of
sense.
PV Poke rankings, um, we're clearing out most of the top picks. We're really only missing a Swampert and Licky Tongue from the top 10. Oh, and we see Venusaur go.
Olivero has banned 2 poison types here.
Mhm.
Maybe he's looking at a fairy wind user, a charm strategy somewhere along the lines, because these
Uh,
are
yeah,
consistent bans.
he was part of our Little Cup live draft, the first of the live drafts that we ever attempted here at PoGoRaids, and came in strong with 3 fairy types on a team of 6. Um, Learning from the mistake of running into the double fairy team and 0-4ing himself.
Nice. Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's some of our more like thematic based bans so far. I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen everybody ban 2 things yet, but
Venusaur,
that definitely.
in its own right, Venusaur is a really strong Pokemon. I mean, Frenzy
Oh, for
Plant is a
sure.
ridiculous move. It's a grass that beats the other grasses. It takes out the fairies, which also just have strong swap potential in draft. It blocks itself against the remainder of the fighters, and again, just wins all the water matchups and can win a bunch of neutral matchups
Yeah,
going straight Frenzy Plant.
for sure. And also looking at the bans, Altaria gone,
Mhm.
Kanto Ninetales gone, Trevenant gone, Registeel gone, Bastodon gone, Sneezler even gone. Those are all Venusaur counters. So it would have definitely been even stronger and ran a little more wild had it gotten through. So
Mhm.
it makes sense as a ban.
I think this is a bunny ban incoming. Or GIF is not loading.
I can't say, I was about to say it's Diggersby. Okay,
Yeah, a
there we go.
non-animated. Yeah, it's Diggersby. All right,
Those
that's
are
a
the
shame. I have yet to build one. I've got a great ranked one, and I was really hoping to drop the 500,000 dust to do it. But I guess we'll have to wait until next season. All right, so here's our Swampert band.
not
Um, we're
not
really taking
surprising.
out all the grounds. If someone can do me a favor and ban Licky Tongue, I would be ever appreciative. I'm just like casually 200 XLs away. So it's not even an option for me. Um, Lantern.
Huh?
Oh my
It
gosh.
would have been surprising last weekend, but this
Yeah.
weekend it's not a shock. Um, the water that beats the other waters is
Yep.
kind of a huge advantage in a format that has a lot of water Pokemon available.
Yep. The electric that can also beat grounds just comes in strong. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you, Mother of Shadows. I assume that's a licky tongue.
I was wondering for a second, and I was like, well, the tongue is going wild in that GIF, so I think that that might be what it is. But yep, nothing outside of the Kanto Ninetales. Nothing too surprising so far.
I could see the Kanto Ninetales if you're paying attention to like our Open Great League. If you were watching the World Championships and saw Shadow Kanto Ninetales go crazy, but in draft it has it struggles a bit more when you can focus your team comps against it.
And its purpose a lot of times was as like the Walrein Trevenant core breaker, and like some of those Pokemon and some of the Pokemon that it has nice matchups with are already banned. So it's interesting, but it's still a premium fire user. When you expect a lot of water Pokemon to get banned, you may just not want to deal with it. So
it does have great neutral matchups, and just
it does.
very spammy. But seeing a bunch of steals and seeing a bunch of grasses go. Yeah. But hey, maybe they just don't like losing to Ninetales.
That's fair.
So interesting things. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say an interesting thing is we were talking about Walrein and it's still there so far. So it could slip through into the draft unless there's a fatal error. Potentially it could come out and knock out two things that we think might get through. But what were you gonna say though?
So I'm actually interested that Alolan Ninetales has not gone. Alolan Ninetales flexibility as a Charm user or a Powder Snow user, whenever it feels like it in draft, is really strong. Getting to know your opponents ahead of time. It's also quite bulky, and so I'm surprised that we haven't seen the A9 ban, because I'm pretty sure it's banned in all other Great League lobbies.
Its typing.
Another thing. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say its typing is great, and like you said, like the flexibility of it, it's easily the most flexible Charm user with like having a really great defensive typing and Fairy and strong move like Charm, but also having incredibly fast ice move set that's offensive with Powder Snow and Weather Ball. Like it is pretty surprising. And also when the ban of Kanto Ninetales comes, that like reminds everyone, oh yeah, there's the other Ninetales, and that's kind of like the mental game of like, oh hey, like this Pokemon also exists too if someone wants to ban that. So the fact that it hasn't yet is interesting. It's really strong.
Yeah, I see people bringing up Talonflame going unbanned. I mean, I think it's gonna come through. DD, yep, the DD ban makes a lot of sense. Again, it's just something that is so bulky.
It's so bulky,
so
and then
hard to deal with.
You get a lot of ghosts and dark types that always get banned, and DD's moveset is actually, despite just having 3 moves, is very, very flexible for drafts because the coverage on them all is really good together. So,
and without a ghost or a dark, it's really hard to kill a DD. And seeing as Sableye is gone, some of the other darks don't even necessarily love those counters. So we are back to my ban.
To our resident drafter here.
I know. So I hate this. We've talked a lot about flexibility. And I already drafted it in one of my Masters League lobbies, and I do not have the TMs for it. I like being able to predict what my opponents bring into a matchup, and the one thing I cannot predict is Mew and what Mew set it is going to be running. So we are going to take Mew right off the table.
Yeah, Mew is literally the jack of all trades in a draft format where you can TM between every opponent. You just that was actually my Pokemon that I had from my Ultra League draft last season that helped me become the Ultra League champion. Was just running Mew, running weird sets, running very specific things, face swapping it into stuff and catching things off guard. Like it doesn't it's not fun to play against. And sometimes it's not fun to have if you don't have TMs.
Yeah, TM roulette, right?
Yeah.
So it does a great job of being a dragon that doesn't lose to other dragons by being able to spam out Dragon Tail, Dragon Claw. It does a great impression of killing waters with Volt Switch. Shadow Claw generates energy super fast for whatever move you want to throw out. If you need a poison jab something, you can do that as well. And Waterfall, just off the top of my head, those are the big changes you can make. Having access to Surf, Wild Charge, Grass Knot, Rock Slide. Its coverage moves are insane. And has a straight Psychic type.
Yeah, it is. It's super strong.
It's hard to kill. All right, so we are losing a fatal error. They have made the fatal error of not participating at all, and we are subbing in Random. So quick shout out to Random for taking the spot. We're gonna wait here while they make their 2 bans, and then we are off to the races.
Yeah, look forward to it. Glad we were able to have somebody fill in the spot here.
So my guess is for bans, right off the top of my head, and looking at things that are left. Mandibuzz I could see going because people just hate seeing that giant bulky Pokemon. I could see Crest going as well. And I know some people just hate playing against the Jangmo family line because they are pretty rare and involve a large rare candy investment unless you somehow found a nest of Jangmo O's, which if you did, call me.
Yeah, I'll catch a flight there. If I have to. If we have a nest of those, I'll make a trip. So let me know.
But pretty much everything is gone from the top picks. Runa Regis is actually a super strong pick now with Shadow Claw.
Yeah, Kofor Grigus as well as in a format where a lot of dark skip in, it just can run wild as a neutral mon that just has a lot of really good matchups. So
yeah,
there's a lot of good bans here.
I had the pleasure of running Kofagria's last draft season.
We have the bans Skarmory and Alolan Marowak. Those are interesting. Skarmory is definitely a mon that you see. Alolan Marowak has fallen a little bit from grace with the introduction of some other, like normal types and ghost types over the past couple seasons of Go Battle League and Sylph and stuff, but still a very strong anti-charm, anti-razor leaf, anti a lot of stuff. These are 2 hard grass counters, so maybe Random is looking at a grass mon early.
Yeah, so it also does a really good job of beating up on the psychics, and we already touched on the ghosts, or not the ghosts, the darks being gone, and it has very strong neutral matchups, especially with the shadow version available. Being able to do a lot of damage and still take a good chunk back. Decent coverage moves, and you can always run Hex Fire Blast if you need to.
Yeah, it actually has some surprising amount of moveset flexibility for, its fire ghost pressure can come in a lot of different ways. Ghost fast move or fire and big nukes or small spammy moves. So
yeah, sometimes you don't need Shadow Bone, and sometimes you can go for the Shadow Ball. Yep. It's a really, really flexible Pokemon, so I easily see it banned here. And also the Skarm ban makes just a lot of sense to me. It's another just super bulky Pokemon that unless you have a Rock type or a Steel type, which we've already seen the big offenders banned here, it gets pretty tough to kill a Skarmory.
I have an idea of what Hannah might actually pick here, based on if I'm looking at her bans correctly, but I don't want to say it because
go for it. That's what we're here for.
But I kind of think maybe she was planning on like a Hypno pick here, like based on her bans. You get a lot of ghosts and dark types are going to be gone. Like Hypno is also it's not quite Mew, but it's a psychic, a TM god that can kind of take a lot of matchups and flip a lot of things. But I don't know. I think it might be a good first pick here. But there's also a lot of other Pokemon that snuck through that have a lot of flexibility and are good. So you could see a lot of different stuff.
I know Cress is really strong and available. We could see the Walrus. Jellicent actually does really well with all of these grasses, darks, strong ghosts banned.
A bunch of normal types gone as well. That's
and we see the Crest pick.
I like that pick as well. That also, I mean, it's not Hypno, but it's the same premise. Obviously, it has a little better Scrafty matchup, but you still ban a ghost type, ban a dark type, take a psychic type.
Mhm.
It's a tale as old as time.
And it's
And
it's
a
so
great
thick,
pick. It's
right?
so
And with all the steals out of the way, like Cresselia really can really start to clean stuff up.
and it's also sneaky flexible too. 3 good charge moves and 2 good fast moves. So Kofa Grigas is a great pick.
Yep.
I love Kofa. I'm a big fan. It's an incredible Pokemon, and just the neutral. It's just a neutral king, or it was a neutral king before it passed away. But we still honor it today.
It can surprisingly, not that it would have to, but it can surprisingly beat Scrafty in the zeros, which is a fun thing to know if you ever need to know that, especially if you're super bulky.
Yeah, it's a strong pick. The Shadow Claws add up, and Shadow Ball is just such an incredible move with a typing that isn't resisted by many things.
So I'm updating my rankings as we go.
Now Random is up, and he's had a lot of action here in his first few minutes in this draft, but I think I'm very interested to see where he goes with this pick here.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of great stuff out there, a lot of great safe swaps. Arachnoquid's available. Regirock is available if you were fortunate enough to get one sub 1500. Mandibuzz is also just a great safe swap.
Got
but it looks like we have a Talonflame.
I like that. I like that pick. Talonflame is just you add some water coverage to it, and you're good to go. You have a great Pokemon that can just muscle through things, and it's the type with its self-buffing that it can run through whole teams.
Yeah, once you get Flame Charge going, it's really tough.
Yeah, if you don't bring a counter to it, it can just neutral your whole team away, like real quick. And Araquanid as the next pick is a great grab, especially considering that Walrein is actually still in the draft pool and available, so you do have the Walrein wall. And I don't know exactly how to say it. Is it Runerigus? Is that how it's pronounced?
I have no idea. Oh, it went? No, they're taking all my picks. I like this as well. I've not had the chance to play with it yet. I hear the ground typing is actually a bit of a liability, but with so many of our great waters and great grasses already being taken out, I think it's just gonna be able to run away with some matchups.
I'm calling it now. It's Runerigus Double Charm is gonna be an Olivero strat. So it makes the most sense as the ghost type that pairs with Charm as the best poison counter, and it's the best steel counter ghost. So I'm giving away the strategies already, but it's on everybody to try to not let it happen, because it's not going to be a good time.
So I'm still waiting to see this Regirock get picked up. Or a double. I think will make a great safe swap. We also haven't seen Vigoroth taken off the board, which is like the king of safe swaps in Great League.
Yeah, I think double is giving it a run for its money with its moveset, but
and just extra bulk. Yeah.
Mandibuzz. I love that pick. Just such a good Pokemon to build around. If you told me that there's going to be a draft and how many bans are there?
22.
22 bans, and 5 picks later that I'd get Mandibuzz as the 28th Pokemon, I would tell you that I'd like to sign up for that draft. And I would like to take part in it, because that is a great pick. Oh, there it is.
Okay, so there's the Regirock. Regirock has a great flexible moveset: Focus Blast, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Zap Cannon. Even nerfed will just do a whole lot. It's bulky, and Lock On allows it to just spam out all of its moves.
Yeah, there's a lot of Regirock counters that are gone as well. And I look at it against some of the picks that were drafted before, like it has a lot of good matchups against things. And there's that Ninetales. Normally would get would get banned. I feel like, but it snuck through and it made it late, and you can't pass it up at a certain spot.
Yeah, it's
That's
really tough because there are just so many.
ooh
There's so many great mons now.
ooh the Dragonite. I love the new Dragonite. It's just a 0 shield and 1 shield monster now, like against so many things that it used to have trouble with. They can just win the zeros against certain ice types, steel types, all kinds of stuff. Like it's definitely it's definitely a crazy new wrinkle to an old classic Pokemon. We're getting close to your pick.
No, I'm getting
Curious
nervous.
to see. I'm curious to see what it's gonna be. There's still some good things left on the board.
The Shadow Dragonites, or sorry, the Shadow Dragon Breaths will really start to add up.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are outside of fairy Pokemon and some steel Pokemon. The 2 shield Dragonite, the 2 shield Shadow Dragonite, Dragon Breaths are just can run through almost anything. It's one of those safe swap Pokemon if your opponent doesn't have an answer for dragons.
All right, so Winston goes ahead and picks up the
Ooh.
B drill, which means my clock is live. All right, all the top picks are off the board basically. One thing I'm looking at, we can take easily the best fighter on the board in Machamp. But I think in a world where we have so many fighting options, we can pick up something a little bit later.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
that can counter your other fighters. Um, so looking off the top of the list, man, I really want something that safe swap well. And we talked about it already a little bit. So I think we're gonna go with Vigoroth.
I like it. I'm a big Vigoroth fan.
Uh,
It was one of my OG favorite GBL Pokemon, and any Soph Cup that it could be running, I like it. So
yeah,
I think it's a great pick. It's an incredible draft Pokemon.
thank you. It
Like,
means a lot to me. And so,
but
and so,
because you took it, I think it's
right,
going to be bad and it's going to underperform and it probably won't help you at all. So there you go.
right. And so
Just
we're
out of
gonna need to
fairness.
pair our Vigoroth with something. It doesn't like ghost types, and it doesn't like fighting types. And unfortunately, like our best thing to go with it is off the board, in my opinion, which is Scrafty. Um, so what can we take? Maybe a flyer. Our poisons are also off the board. Um, we want something to be able to kill all of these people. So we're definitely struggling with those ghosts. We're gonna have to pick up a dark type at some point, but I don't know if we can do it right now. Oh, this is just so tough. And now I'm just feeling the pressure of the clock and the stream. I think I've got it though. Looking at all these first picks,
Uh,
I think we're just gonna go with a strong pick that required a lot of trading for low level ones. But I would like to pick up Tapu Fini.
okay.
It's one of our stronger water Pokemon left. It can make sure that we can take out fighters. It has a decent neutral matchup against a lot of things, and it's just pretty bulky. Plus, I already spent all the dust double moving it. And looking around, I'm not sure how many other great water types we have off the top. So, knowing I won't get to pick for another 20 mons, I would like to go ahead and take that.
Yeah, I think that I think Tapu is very strong overall. Um, I don't, I don't, I don't hate it. I wish that I could hate it more. I wish that I could say worse things about your draft so far, but it's going well for you. You're doing all right. I'm not mad at it. Vigoroth is it's hard for me to not like a team that has Vigoroth. Like it's just so good.
Yeah, I think you just really want that safe potential.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And
It's strong.
it really gives fits to a bunch of other ghost users or lick users.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, this is where the draft gets more fun, in my opinion, is once you get to like the second and the third round because you start seeing the duos and trios that people have been aiming for and thinking about, and what kind of cores they're looking at and what they value. And this is also unfortunately the part where people can start making mistakes in drafts by drafting something that shares a weakness with something else you already drafted, or getting something, like. So I think this is where it's going to get a little interesting now. Like, the first picks are always cool, like every Pokemon has its benefits and its downsides and justification for being drafted. But now, how do you complement your first pick?
Yep.
What do you pair with it that works?
Starting to build the cores is like the biggest part of draft so far.
And that's the thing about drafting in general that's interesting, is that, like, obviously no two drafts are the same. Maybe throughout the history of mankind in any kind of format where there's a draft, there might be two drafts that happen exactly the same, but we can't be certain. But in Pokemon Go, no two drafts are ever the same. Each draft has its own identity, and on top of it, like, people have different strategies. Like, I like to create a value system where I look at my first pick and figure out what it does, and then I have things based off of what stays and what goes. Like, like water types, like I tend to have like a first and second round level water type that I think I can get, and then I have maybe like a third, fourth, fifth round value like water type, and then I try to have like a sixth round water type, like that's something that I pretty much know will be there at the end if I need it and I feel comfortable with it. And uh, and so I think people complement a lot of things and build a lot of strong cores and build their teams good ways.
So we see Winston picking up Steelix, which greatly benefits from Psychic Fangs being able to just spam out fast move pressure, but immediately making the team weak to fire and ground.
Is weak to fire and ground. I think that a lot of water neutral matchups go in their favor against the Beedrill can handle them, but a Mud Boy like a Whiscash or something could give that team a lot of issues. But there's a lot of rounds to address it too, so it's not the end of the world. Dragonite Gramble is, taking Dragonite and then taking one of its strongest counters.
So also, so much fast move pressure.
Yeah, that team is just gonna melt through people that aren't prepared and don't have bulk.
I have to assume that they're both going to be shadows during actual gameplay.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm sure.
run into two bulky mons. I'm not sure if you're not super weak to Granbull or Dragonite. I don't know if you can chunk through things like that.
Yeah, and I really, really, really like JD's core. Get the ice fairy type with Jellicent here. You have almost perfect coverage between them. There's obviously a couple core breakers like Ferrothorn and things like that, but you almost have play against everything. You have a dark grass counter, and then Jellicent handles the fire and ground or fire and steel pretty well that threaten your Ninetales. So that's a really JD's team is super strong so far, and he took one of the core breakers away from the team in Lantern. So looks like a really good draft so far for him.
Yeah, I mean, A9 Jellicent is just the core of a bunch of Great League and Ultra League teams already. So
yep,
really throw in safe swap a choice and you're good to go.
You were right. Our first Fairy Wind user, Jumpluff.
So it's a flying grass. So I mean, it's gonna pick up all of those regular matchups. It'll beat all the other grasses. But having the ability to throw in Fairy Wind allows it to beat things like dragons, allows it to beat things like darks that it might not otherwise be able to.
That's also it pairs really well with Reggie as like they're both bulky for one, which is great flexibility to have. But Reggie covers the fires and covers a lot of the anti flying types, and it covers ice types. And so Jumpluff is out here covering water types and other grass types and ground types. So they have a lot of synergy together as a core, and also a very bulky one. I really like that pick a lot.
Yeah, I do too. Oh, we'll have to find something to go with this Mandibuzz.
Now, see, Mandibuzz, like you were saying that you liked, I can't remember what you said we're thinking of pairing with Vigoroth. Mandibuzz Vigoroth is a really good, is a really strong duo together.
Hmm.
I could see like I would be interested. This would be a good place for the
The
double to come
double.
in or something.
Oh yeah.
But
It-
Whiskash here for Mike. It's a great grab as well. You have the classic Flyer and Mudboy core.
best
Bulk,
mud boy
lots of
left on the
coverage.
table too.
Yeah. I don't know, man. You're sleeping on Marshtomp a little bit there, but no, I'm just kidding. But
Uh,
I think it has I think Whiskash is a great grab.
Wiggly. I love Wiggly as the best charmer, personally. I know A9's super flexible, but as far as a straight charm, in draft, a lot of the ways you deal with things by safe swapping ghosts, and the
Yeah.
normal typing allows it to just not care at all about ghosts. And there's
The rune.
Drapion, again, just another great safe swap here, taking away a great counter for the ghosts.
Yeah. No, Drapion rune is a really nice core. It's a little it's a unique one. It's not one that I necessarily thought, but it definitely you see the purposefulness there. Like you have the ground coverage in rune to cover Drapion. So um, then we have the Araquanid and Wigglytuff. Uh, they're definitely not gonna have a good time with that Talonflame that Random has above there so far, but they have time to fix that up. But they have a lot of good play for dark types and fighters, so they can get a little creative with some picks in the last round or in the last few rounds there. Okay, random grab Polytoad. I like that. I like the the water fire grouping. Obviously, he won't have the best time with Dragonite or like dragons in general, but you can always address that later with a charm or a good steel type or something. So
Some sort of coverage.
these are two Pokemon that take shields. So
Yeah.
you have Poly and Talonflame, and you can get a shield with almost either of them, and set the other one up for potential sweeps and dominant gameplay with two shields to one or one shield to zero at the end of games. So
Lizard Poly just for Dragonite we see coming in. Excadrill, I actually really like this. One of the ways I think you can set up wins in draft or GBL if you want with your Cofagrius is just by taking shields and dying.
yeah,
Right, so
yeah,
soft losing matchups, but taking a shield and then letting something like Excadrill come in up shields, and then it's just easy to sweep, making sure
yeah.
that you have that super spammy, super powerful Pokemon
Yeah,
up to.
you see that in a lot of Master League play and stuff with Giratina and Excadrill and like Master League factions and different
Mhm.
things like that. They same kind of concept. Like either one of those Pokemon up shields can be very dominant to close out a game. So they have a heavy shield pressure team as well.
Anna choosing between two Pokemon, not realizing that she gets back-to-back picks. Just kidding, Anna. She's choosing between two similar Pokemon. All right, Machamp first pick. I like this.
It's a great pick. It's a great value pick. Machamp in the 40s. Having that Shadow Machamp, like if your opponent doesn't have a Charmer or a Confusion user, you can pretty much. It's also one of those things like you like to look for. It's a safe swap. If you give Machamp up a couple counters, it can flip a lot of matchups that it shouldn't win. So it's a very dominant Pokemon. I like that pick a lot.
And we see Galarian Weezing also coming in from Hannah. There's our second Fairy Wind
I like
user,
that.
and someone who's relatively new to the Go Battle League scene.
Yeah.
Have you gotten a chance to play with a Galarian Weezing yet?
I have not. I actually don't have one built yet. I have one that's like decent that I got, but I just hadn't put any of the resources into it yet. I was just waiting a little bit to see how things like materialize some. But that's definitely an interesting pick. I can see the team has a little bit of an issue with a few things so far, but I like the Weezing pick for Machamp to core with it, and it goes well with I can't remember what it's Cresselia. Cresselia, that's the name of it. I don't know why I forgot that, but
Yeah, it's looking like a bulky team with just
yeah,
a lot of damage being able to come out from a Machamp, and just some great coverage all around.
yeah, the fairy that beats other fairies is a great thing to have in a draft where there's gonna be a premium on charm, so you have a good charm protect for um for your Machamp. So
All right, we see
Tentacruel.
Tentacruel.
Tentacruel is interesting. It's its
It's a great
moveset.
swap.
Yeah, its moveset feels a little clunky still, even with Scald, just because like some of the stuff you want to hit with Scald, your poison jabs aren't incredible against, and some stuff that you want to hit with poison jabs, Scald might not be as great against, but its typing of water poison is very strong, and it's a very bulky Pokemon, and I think it goes pretty well. I think
Yeah,
it's going to be a good pick overall. So
I think it makes a nice safe swap too.
yeah. Random with the Abomasnow. Okay, this is
How the mighty have fallen.
That's a great dragon answer. You have it can help you with your your weaknesses and your cores, but also this is one of those things where you take Abomasnow and you're like, well, I have the best fire Pokemon, so I have the best Abomasnow counter. So now I have Abomasnow with one of its hardest counters not available to everybody else. So I like that. I like that pick a lot. Having a good having two water coverages. Politoed wins a lot of water matchups with its Earthquake, and Obama obviously is great against water Pokemon. It protects your Talonflame a lot. So yeah, that's a great pick. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because I am intrigued by this team so far, but I want to see how they plug a couple of the dual kind of like shared holes that
Right, so like
these
anything
Pokemon have.
steel isn't great.
Yeah.
So maybe we get a fighter, or maybe we get a pseudo fighter. Obstagoon, recent community day. Also another great safe swap as long as it doesn't find
Yeah.
itself up against a fighter. Ufisk could be good. Actually,
I do
really
like
that.
Ufisk a lot. Yeah, Ufisk and another thing that I just realized that we've gotten caught up in a lot of good picks and a lot of draft action recently, but Walrein is still there, and that's kind of crazy to me because like I know that it got nerfed, but it didn't get nerfed this hard.
You could actually take
Like,
a Walrein here too with one of its biggest counters on your team.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it, and even if you were to go up against a team that had the fire type like Talonflame or something, like it isn't the greatest, but you still have that waterfall option.
Mhm.
You still have that water play, and even ice wise, it has neutral play against
So
the
it wouldn't love fire
fire.
Pokemon, but we only have one fire Pokemon on the board. And also its fighting coverage, or its fighting weakness, is covered really easily by the
Yeah,
Arachnoid Charm. So I could actually
yeah.
see Walrein being taken here.
I think it would be interesting. I think I could see a couple of teams that would do. I think any team would be at this point in this pick would definitely be boosted by Walrein.
I think we're being listened to. What's
It's
nice too, right?
possible.
So your two water types can cover sort of their own grass weaknesses. One of the really nice things about the Arachnoid Walrein.
Yep, I agree. And there's there's
Slurpuff.
Charmer / Fairy Winder #1 for Olivero. The strategy is coming together. People need to stop it. Get your charm counters. Get your bulky Pokemon that can deal with Reneragus some and potentially handle a Charmer as well. Like get it together. You're not gonna have a good time. I'm telling you. But yeah, back to the Walrein pick. I do like it a lot. Obviously, we talked about it some, but it definitely makes sense. Walrein Walrein Wiggly is strong. Walrein having Araquanid on your team, so there is no real Walrein wall anywhere to worry about. It's a great safe swap too. Now this pick here for Mike will be interesting because I think he has such a good. I think actually the next 3 drafters have such good cores as of right now that they have a lot of flexibility of what they can go with and how they can draft. They can take a. They have almost like a free pass to just take something good. Just grab any Pokemon that's good. Grab anything you want. You already have super strong duos. So I'm interested to see how these next few picks play out for them all.
Yeah, I think one of the important parts about this team right here
Ooh.
is that you just have so much flexibility. Is that a Frostlass? No.
Oh, I love
Sniping
that
has
pick.
begun.
That is a really, really good pick. That is
Mhm.
a Pokemon that in deeper ban leagues often gets banned, and then when you look at all the things that beat it that got banned already, all those different Pokemon, like this is a great value pick here. I think this team is set up to be one of the best teams so far for sure.
Yeah, just 2 things with bulk, and again, like being able to set up your Frostlass with shield advantage.
Yeah, you have.
Yes, it's still a snipe if it's 6 picks ahead. Get out of here. my, my list of Pokemon that will make me happy is slowly starting to dwindle.
I'm disappointed with myself for forgetting the Frostlass was available because it is such a great draft Pokemon. Like that is an incredible pick. Like that's Walrein is great, but that might be the best value pick so far.
I've been intentionally not talking about it just to like hope we can keep it off of people's radars, but that is
Yeah.
clearly not working.
Well, that was what I did too. So just my Cash App is the same name as mine. So just throw me the $5. I tried as hard as I could to make sure the process got to you, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. Sorry, man.
That's
Now I
okay.
have.
We've got SCAF coming in, which I really actually like this.
I do like that a lot. You do have the double fire weakness, but there are only limited fire Pokemon. I'm guessing we probably see Charizard's Sunny Cast form, and I'm sure something else uh, by the end of it. But oh,
Ooh, there's the Hypno pick.
JD took Zweilous. I didn't even see that. That is actually a. I do like that pick a lot. I do.
I'm actually surprised it went so late.
Yeah, it is such a good Pokemon overall. Um,
And there's your Dark to help cover the A9 Jelly Core, right? A9 Jelly Dark.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. You have double Dark coverage for Jelly, which is great.
You've got double ice coverage.
Yep.
Double fire coverage.
You do really get a lot of when you take out Azumarill and the Steels and some of the counter users and other dragons and stuff, like you do end up with Zweilous running free in a lot of matchups and being able to create tough matchups or dictate your opponent's team comp. Mother Shadows with the Hypno pick, I think Hypno Charm is really strong together. Obviously, you have that dark coverage. You do well against a lot of things. I think that's a great pick there.
Still gonna hate to see a Steel type.
Yeah, if you run the Shadow Hypno with Fire Punch, like the Steel types that are remaining are not necessarily as bulky, and some of them are weak to different stuff, and now like the Dragonite has a little bit better play against the steel types as well. But they definitely will want to add another add a real hard steel counter at some point. But Primate, oh, that's a great pick.
That is, it gives you some really nice coverage
Yeah,
as well. Still going to need something for fire Pokemon.
yeah. Still, right now they would they would see the Talonflame come out in top left as of right now. So that has to be addressed some, but I think that that's a pretty easy fix so far. Kelsey saying no one likes Goon. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure about that either. The Goon could have been a great pick for JD as well. I do like the Zweilous, but yeah, I'm
Uh,
surprised that Goon is still there.
so I'm looking at this right now, and I'm having a lot of problems with ghost types, and I also want to make sure I get some sort of coverage through for some grass coverage against my Tapu Fini. And again, I love Safe Swap, strong neutral matchups. So
Okay.
I'm going to have to go with the very, very bulky Noctowl. Should allow me to take out ghost types with its normal typing. We can cover all the grasses, and Shadow Ball, um, Sky Attack just gives it a lot of decent neutral coverage that we should be able to pair with as well. And now that I've done that, I have absolutely no idea what to pick. So I would love a dark, but I don't think there are tons of great
There's
dark
not a
Pokemon
there's
left.
not a lot of dark value.
Uh,
There's one dark Pokemon that's on the board that has value for sure, but outside of that, but it runs very similarly to your first pick. So
well, so I think we actually have two, right? So we could potentially pick the Hisuian Quillfish, um, which has great coverage. It should actually
classic.
uh, uh, it should fare as a good safe swap, but is a ton
Yeah.
of great moves. But I'm also wondering what type of steel Pokemon we can take. And at this point, our steel options are just plummeting.
The steel
Um,
options get pretty bad after a few get banned and a few get drafted. It becomes pretty tough.
yeah. So I think we might end up with one of these dark types. Um, or we could just throw caution to the wind and pick something terrible. Um, but I think I'm gonna need to pick up. Let me double check if I actually have one. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna go with the Hisuian Quillfish at this point.
Okay.
The poison will be able to pick up our weakness to grass. It will also be able to be an additional fighting counter, and it can help take out ghosts. So I am gonna go with Hisuian Quillfish on the board. Roast away.
Mm, I don't. I wish I didn't like your picks more, but I don't. I don't hate it. I think that it's a little bit flimsy. So like you mentioning that it could be like a fighting counter, like I would say that it's not. But
Yeah. I
you
take that.
do have you do have the Tapu and the Noctowl. Like the Noctowl pick was really good. The Quillfish pick I think was solid. I think that the Dark Poisons are all very similar. They are a little they're all theoretically good. They're a little bit less good in general than I think that they are outside of Drapion, just because Drapion is a little bulkier and spammy and has like the better move set sometimes. But the Quillfish does play similar to it. It just doesn't have the bulk for it. But I think that it's a good
I,
grab.
I think for the darks left on the board,
Yeah. Oh,
I
for
think it's
sure.
the best we can do. I believe it's a little bit bulkier than Overquill. We could have reached down for a stun tank, or skunk tank. Um,
Yeah, I
but
do
I don't
like
love the
Skunk
way
Tank,
that plays.
but it is a little Skunk Tank is more of a Ultra League
Mm,
one. I feel like it gets a little more bulk and a little bit better, and it's just a little bit slow to moves in regular draft. Whereas like
yeah,
the Drapion and the Quillfish and Overquill have a little bit more like spamminess to them that works. So Winston the champ with the Whimsicott. He's just doubling down on never beating fire types. And he is okay with it.
Yeah.
Like Winston is just like, I'll beat everything but fire types and I will do it well. So but there's still a lot of water Pokemon, a lot of different stuff on the board, so you can address those in the last 2 rounds, but you are getting pretty close here.
Yeah, just water.
Yeah. Well, there are shadows with Meganium. Meganium is a very bulky Pokemon. I like that grab. It is a grass type that also handles steel types pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So it covers kind of a need that they have. They get a water counter and a steel counter, which goes well for them.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. It's just bulk. You had two assumed Shadowmons that are very frail in the beginning, and now you've added 2 Bulkymon to the end. But
Meganium's so thick.
Yeah, it definitely helps out the team. Toxicroak in round 4 is absolute steal. Fighter that beats other fighters. You have a lot of assorted ghost and dark coverage and stuff now for your Jellicent and or for your Toxicroak, so they pair pretty nicely. I like that a lot. Even Poison Jab flexibility is something that JD could use. I think he has a great team so far.
I think just looking at JD's team too is 3 really bulky Pokemon and Toxicroak.
Zweilous is not super bulky, but the Jellicent A9 are very Jellicent's super bulky. A9's very bulky, especially for being a charm user. But the other 2 are a little bit flimsier, but they go pretty well together. He has a lot of fighting coverage to cover for his Zweilous as well.
Right.
Zweilous could really have very few threat, and you have one of the harder psychic counters to pair with your Toxicroak. Samurott, I like it. It's spammy and it's a water type, which is what you needed, and you have really good grass answers and a couple things that and your Jumpluff is a solid electric answer as well. So I think it's a really good pickup. These 3 teams that we've seen JD and then I don't know how to say that name. Javaroka?
Yeah, it's too small on my screen. Our Regirock team.
Yeah. JD, Regirock team, and hey, it's Mike. Definitely 3 of the most well-rounded teams so far. So it gets exciting every time that they're about to get up because I just feel like they never miss.
I feel like JD could really pick anything at this point. Like I'm not sensing any huge weaknesses.
No, he has a lot of flexibility in the last couple rounds because he has such a strong core of 4 already. You can go with almost anything, which is a great spot to be in because you can play the best available or play like a niche counter that you think you might want to have for something.
I could see maybe wanting a specific answer to the Talonflame. Just because even though you've got some Pokemon that can deal with it, like Brave Bird pressure is going to still be a very strong thing. And I don't know if that team's really going to love it.
This team is just getting insane. Good. This team is so good. And that's a thing that I realized now too a little bit is that Hey It's Mike does have a bit of a issue with fire type like a fire flying type like Talonflame and probably Charizard if it gets drafted just because of the Whiscash's inability to kind of hit it, but he's got really good coverage in almost every other way.
Oh, there's the Patchy.
That is normally a Pokemon that gets banned, I feel like, out of the accessibility issues that people have with it, but getting a Pokemon that thick in the 4th round is really, really great grab. Oliveira's team is
also very well-rounded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has some good bulk to it. It has a couple Pokemon with really flexible move sets. It has some good coverage for stuff. You have good water coverage for your the thing I would say is he has a little bit of a weakness to mud boys as a whole, but there's really not a lot of them. So like the regular water types are pretty easily handled by Patchy, so it's a great grab so far.
All right, what are we going to see round out this uh, double water team? I mean, it has to be some sort of coverage for grass, right?
Yeah, I would think.
Some sort of coverage for steel as well. Maybe we see a fire type here. Because even though the
Yeah.
Walrus can win, I really don't think this team's going to love a steel type.
No, yeah, for sure.
Croak's gone, so we don't have our great grass steel answer.
It's hard to say. I don't want to give too many suggestions in case they're listening again, like they were with the Wolverine. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if they were, but it was definitely a great pick for them either way. But it's a lot of options here. At least they did ban a fire, so now that's looking like a really good play for them. They could go with something water here as like a steel
They already
counter that also.
They have so many waters. What about, hear me out, what about Fortress?
It would just, you would have so many things that have bad Talonflame matchups.
Yeah, it's true.
That would be just kind of hard to overcome.
Sunny Cast Form. Yeah, I can see Sunny Cast Form. The thing is, like, again, there just aren't too many great fire types. With AWAC gone, with Ninetales gone, with Talonflame gone, it's pretty much Sunny Cast Form. Maybe a Charizard.
No, yeah, for sure. And they could just be like, hey, I'll beat all the other teams and I'll lose to something that's fire, and that's okay. I do.
Don't want to be.
I would actually.
Yeah.
I would actually like that pick a lot that Kelsey suggested there. That would be
They're not super weak to grass. Like, you will have to get grass coverage at some point. Like, they kind of need something to kill grass and steels, and then they, like, also kind of just need a steel themselves, maybe?
Yeah. They could,
you can't really pick a flyer to deal with the grasses, because then you're just triple weak to electric.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that pick. I think that then you just have to address, you have to take something that's like a very niche, like grass counter. If you were to grab like the Euphis, like you have to have like something that just wins against every grass type, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. We'll get the pick eventually, I'm sure. There's all this anticipation.
Yeah.
Like after that, I would like to see where Random goes, because he has kind of the trio of typings. He has the fire, water, and the grass. Like he has a lot of flexibility with where he can go. He kind of can kind of like overlap on things, or try to get maybe a counter user, or try to get.
I think he's gonna need a little more bulk.
A steel type, obviously, like something that's bulky is good. Like Politoed has a little bit of bulk, but either one of the other Pokemon I would consider to be very bulky.
Hey, hear me out for our current pick. What about Melmetal? It gets
I don't hate
your rocks. It gets to blank your steels. Grasses. The other steel types available don't really do particularly well against the Melmetal. You already have fighting coverage available. And you're not worried about its single steel typing to fire, because you got a lot of water coverage. It's not great, but it's there, the water coverage.
I don't think it's bad, and I think that having a dependable steel type is like a luxury in
Yeah,
draft because there's
they're
not a
just
lot
so
of like
few.
pure steel types that can do what steel types are supposed to do. You know, like being able to beat flyers reliably and have pretty good matchups with most of the grass Pokemon outside of like Meganium and stuff. But um, I wouldn't hate it. I think it's a tough. Oh, they went Melmetal.
Oh my
There you
gosh.
go.
Listening to us. Also, my wife just texted me. She apparently caught a Galarian Articuno. So that's
Nice. Have you caught any of those yet? Any of the new
no,
birds?
no, so sadly. It's like draft just started, right? So I've just been like praying to get one and pick it up in the 6th round of one of my lobbies. Just feel like,
Random with the Amok pick. I do like that they have 3 solid ground answers so far. I think that also gives them a charm answer to pair with Talon because the other 2 Pokemon they have were a little bit susceptible to just getting like 2 shield charm through. Ufisk or yeah, Ufisk here for Sylvester. Um,
so really
I
going
like
for
it.
like double ground.
I like the double ground.
Super spammy.
I think that they have a little. They can have some issues with grass types on their team. Like the Tentacruel is nice against them, but it still takes a lot of grass damage in return. Especially like a Frenzy Planter. Like you don't want your Tentacruel to eat a Frenzy Plant with no charge move pressure in return. So,
Right.
Tropius, that is a great pick. Tropius is just a type that is covers a lot of different things that you want and has incredible bulk, and to get it in the 4th round is good, especially you have Machamp and the Weezing with Overheat, and your Cresselia has a neutral matchup with like ice types, and you have some steel coverage already, and there's another steel coverage and another potential ice coverage. So I
I
actually
do.
like that, and
Uh,
you added 2 more things uh for Machamp some in different ways. You get like a Pokemon that beats other fighters and beats things, and then you get Charizard that beats Charm. So
mhm.
I think that this team is actually very good.
I think
Uh,
again it's a pretty well-rounded team. I don't see any glaring double weaknesses for Hannah at all, other
yeah,
than maybe like the rock electric. But
having 2 flyers can be a little tricky, but like the Cresselia with Grass Knot to be able to beat most rock Pokemon, and then Machamp just punch it through them.
and there's the Galarian
Whoa.
Articuno.
Okay.
Okay, somebody's
That's a
showing off.
that's a Pokemon. I don't
Yeah,
I'm not fully aware of what moves it even has. I haven't even seen a Galarian Articuno yet, so I don't even I've just heard the lore about it
yeah.
existing. But it it's psychic flying, right?
It is psychic flying.
Yeah.
That's.
Um
I mean, I don't. I can't wait
it's
to see what
spicy.
happens. It's
It's a
but
spicy pick.
back to Hannah's double flyers. I think it's highly unlikely that she'll ever be running both at the same time. Right, so we'll
Yeah.
probably just pick our interchangeable flyer to deal with.
And
But
they complement each other well if there was a double flying strategy, as one can kind of beat steels and ice together, and the other one can cover like the waters and electrics well. So
we got
they
the
pair
squirrel
well as
coming
a
in.
double. Greedent is a great pick. It's interesting now with tackle. It can just become it can be either a super spammy mon or a very like a potential fast move pressure, also still pretty spammy mon. So I think Greedent just got better by having options, and it's a good pick. It adds a lot of bulk. It can it adds some coverage for different things. Uh, by just and also is a really good safe swap. So I think that was what they might have been missing by having the 3 elemental types with harder counters. Having a good safe swap could be a really good grab for random. person doing the pictures in shambles right now. Yeah, this is there's been some pics the last few that have been a little spicy.
I'm surprised we had the Galarian
We had the
Articuno ready to
Articuno
pull
up.
up.
We had it up really fast. That
I'm
was
pretty sure.
that was,
Pretty sure
I'm super
Kelsey's in
impressed.
charge of the pictures right now.
Dude,
Absolutely on top of it.
Absolute animal. Just ready for anything. Just no curveballs. Everything just straight down the middle. She's knocking it out of the park. We couldn't do it without Kelsey.
We couldn't do it without all of our great staff here at PoGoRaids.
Alright, we got Ewell, the listener here. If they take as long as the last time, they may not get a 6th round pick. They are running down on their clock here. But
what do we need? We're still not great against grasses. We're still not great against rocks.
oh,
We take
I
Hakamoto.
like that pick a lot.
Yep.
That's
Nice
a really good
Dragon type.
pick. Some nice play with Melmetal as well, having the charm coverage there. Your own neutral charmer, Walrein, and Araquanid are bulky enough to have some play against charmers. I like that. Oh, Alvaro with Rainy Cast Form. This team has a potential grass issue outside of the Drapion. Like, it depends if it's like obviously
Especially
there's no
if it's
Venusaur,
poison grass.
so the Venusaur ban looks really smart now because obviously your Surpluff has better grass play with Fairy Wind and is it Flamethrower? I think it has. So it has some grass play. It obviously doesn't want to deal with a grass poison type necessarily, but I'd expect to see that shored up at the end, and then that team looks ready to go. I like the bulk and the combination of different coverages and different mons. Like it's a flexible team. Now my favorite team, I think so far. I'm just waiting to see what they draft. I'm the biggest fanboy right now of this team. So
I mean, you really could pick up anything you want to.
There's so much flexibility here because you have such good coverage and you have bulk and you have spammy mons. You can get shields. You have things with nukes. Like you have everything kind of covered at this point. It's a good spot for Mike to be in.
So I kind of think that this is maybe a great spot to get a steal too. You already have a dark. Some of the good remaining steals are like your Wormadon Trash and Jirachi as confusion users.
I would like that because I think that I do think that this team could have an issue with charm, especially like the A9 in particular, where you can't threaten shields as hard with the Frostlass.
Right.
And JD is going to be for Mike, JD is going to be a team that he needs to beat because I would think that they're both going to do very well. So all their wins against each other are going to probably matter for sure at the end of the day. So obviously you want to win every game, but you need to look at another great team. You need to have an answer for it. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see these middle 3 teams kind of counter drafting each other a little bit when they go in order. So
yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out what I'm gonna draft over here. I don't love my options.
I will say that you do have a good core of 4. You have some good play against a lot of stuff. You shored up the grass weakness the last 2 rounds. You have some stuff that can answer steals. Like you have a lot of flexible picks. Like you said, you like the safe swaps, and I think that all 4 of your Pokemon against specific teams can be swapped safely.
So I think I'm going to need to pick something up against this Ufisk specifically. Because I am starting to get really weak to... I've got a double weakness to electric.
Yeah. The water Ufisk matchup is usually favors the water as like especially if you have like a water gunner. I do see that. I do see that being an issue potentially, but
Also with
I think you have
Tentacruel
some.
out there, like that's just right because I can't run my
So yeah,
thing
Tentacruel would be
into
a
that.
tough time for you. Oh, hey, this Mike grabbed a Quillfish, regular Quillfish. I do like that. You get a pure because Whiskash is a water type that doesn't really have water pressure.
Hmm.
So you have this water type. You already have a couple really good grass counters and some good neutral stuff, and it gives you a charm resist.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say something to stop a Charmer. It looks really
yeah,
good.
and it has a flexible moveset. You know, you have that water gun pressure, and you also have the spammy poison sting, aqua tail. Uh, ice beam can catch something off guard. You know, you ice safe swap it against somebody that has one of the grass flyers, and they swap it in and you ice beam it. Like it has a lot of good coverage together.
Quillfish doesn't really resist. Does a good job. Also
It
pumping
can.
out poison damage, like so.
The
It's
thing is,
spammy enough and resists enough.
the Quillfish could take a shield against the Charmer. And if you get the Charmer out of the way and you have Frostlass or Double or Whiskash in the back, you can get this. You having the shield advantage can make one of those Pokemon potentially sweep a line. So you
All
do
right,
have some play there.
so we've got this Grimer coming out.
I like it.
I do like
I
Grimer. It's the first XL Pokemon I ever made.
It is a great neutral. It's a great neutral Pokemon. Anything with Poison Jab Crunch is gonna do pretty well in matchups where it can get them all.
We see JD taking a Quag, which I really like.
I do
Double
like
weakness
Quag.
to grass is happening, but everything else is just a great grass cover. So I'm not too concerned. Maybe something, maybe one of the remaining grass poisons could kind of break this a little bit, but still not great.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think that JD was in a position as where was uh, Rocha and hey, it's Mike, where they had a lot of flexibility on things they could get. So like, I like the Quag, grab there. You already have such a strong team of four. Um, okay, Mother Shadows with a Hitmonlee, new double kicker. So it has some interesting play and moves. It's a little bit of a, I want to say, no, Hitmonchan is the more like defensive one of them. So Hitmonlee is kind of an aggro play. It's another little bit of a flimsy mon, but a counter user. Anything with counter or anything with fighting moves is going to be good. So
Yeah, I gotta say I'm unfamiliar with the stat distributions of the Hitmon family.
because it's based off like Hitmontop and Hitmonchan are like Hitmonchan is based off boxing, which is obviously like a defensive type of martial art. So Hitmonchan is more of a defensive stat production, which is why it evolves on defense. And then Hitmontop is based off of like Capoeira, like the Brazilian one, which is more of like speed and movement. So that's why it goes off of HP in Pokemon Go. And then Hitmonlee is like kickboxing, which is more like aggro, straightforward, like pushing the pace kind of thing. So I guess it's a little bit of a martial arts lesson and a Pokemon lesson in one, but yeah.
Well, I thank you for that. I like this
Dugong
Dugong.
here. Dugong is one of those that it just can be really dominant in certain situations, but I just still worry about this team against anything with fire. You just
Yeah,
don't have a thing that hits fire. Like I think you may have cornered yourself into like absolutely having to take a just pure water type in the last round just to have something to handle fire. But
I think I have to agree with you there.
it's still you have some stuff that has a little bit, and the water type also help because you have a few things that lose to steel. You have a Charmer, a Steelix could potentially lose to another steel type depending on the move sets and what it has, and the Beedrill, depending on what the steel type has. If it's, you know, those poison jabs being double resisted. I like the Durong pick, like in theory, but it definitely like pigeonholes his team in a way into having to have a specific last pick, I feel.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
now we're on to the real picks that matter here.
Don't tell
The
me.
big dog. The big
Don't
dog
tell
finishing
me.
out the draft with the last 2 rounds.
All right, so we're gonna come out swinging. This one's easy. We're gonna go with Hakamoto. I think
Okay.
it's time to pick up my fighter. It's time to pick up my dragon, which is just gonna give me so many elemental resists. I am not too concerned
I
about
like it.
psychics or ghosts, really.
You get a good electric counter that also has
Mhm.
some play against steals. So it makes sense for your team for sure.
And so this is where my final pick comes in. So we've got the Hakamoto. Um, what I think I'm needing here is a steel type, and I know there aren't tons of steel types left. We're basically down to Jirachi, which is a confusion user. Um, but I am kind of concerned about ghosts at this point with Jirachi. Being able to pump steel stuff out is great. I also kind of like a Wormadon Trash. Same idea, except better against ground, better
Yeah.
against fighters.
Different resistance pairings and different matchups in particular. So
Right. So I'm leaning more towards Trash than I am Jirachi, but I also have been meaning to build a Shadow Ball Isle forever. And I've got one ready to go, and I'm looking at it, and being able to Fire Fang through a number of these teams while also resisting steel seems like a very interesting proposition to me.
plus
Um,
it has Fairy Wind now too.
yeah,
So there is that potential flexibility on a weekly or on a matchup based, you know, situation. But
yeah. So
I think
thoughts?
it sounds fun. The first 2 picks that you listed sound more reliable and sturdy.
Yeah.
That one sounds more fun and dangerous. And it's more about which one do you want to be.
Right. Well, I'm certainly fun and dangerous. But I do think right now, without having made uh, 9 of my picks in my OU and Master Classic draft, I think I will have to save the rare candy for now. Oh, somebody's saying Chris, you want me to pick a Ferrothorn? Interesting. All right, Chris, talk me through Ferrothorn. You've got 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So, I mean, like, what can a Ferrothorn do for us? A Ferrothorn can die to Hannah's team. A Ferrothorn would actually be able to handle Sylvester's team pretty well. You know what? It would actually not really mind Random's team besides the Talonflame, and I already have 2 great Talonflame answers. Galv is also a good option. Um, Ferrothorn actually
Ferrothorn would
looks,
just dog walk through Oliveira's team.
yeah.
Just absolutely just
I
crush
think I
everything
might
that's
be
there.
convinced about this Ferrothorn. It actually looks pretty good against Mike's team as well. Um, it doesn't love the Regirock team. Oh man, yeah, actually, you know what? You guys are way smarter than I am. Thank you. It looks like it'll do pretty well against JD. We're not going to lose much. The Dragonite team's not going to be great, but I think I can handle the Dragonite team as is. All right, I've been convinced. One Ferrothorn it is.
There we go. I would like to roast your pick, but I can't because it actually wasn't your pick. You know, people helped you with it, so it's credentialed. You know, it has the viability they needed. If you had decided on your own, I'd be like, not as good. But actually, I do like your draft a lot. Pains me to say, but no, it's a lot of good. It's a lot of flexible Pokemon. Um,
Now that I'm
Ferrothorn
looking at my
being
draft, though, I think I could have done way better. Like, I'm looking at all these available Pokemon, and I could have just gone, like, Jelly Dino right off the bat. I think that would have been a stronger lead.
It's tough. It's tough to, in hindsight, you could always have done different stuff, but a lot of times you go in with a particular strategy and you think that it might unfold a certain way, and maybe another strategy would have worked out better, but it wasn't what you were necessarily thinking or what you would have wanted, maybe.
Yeah, I
But
think that's one of the really fun and dynamic things about
yeah,
draft is that
for sure.
you go in with a plan, and as soon as somebody picks it, your plan's out the window.
Yeah, and
No
it's like
amount, no amount of simming will ever be able to account for somebody drafting the Pokemon you wanted.
that's why kind of having your advanced plans are good, like having, roles roles for Pokemon versus typing, is really good in draft, like knowing that X different Pokemon of a bunch of different types can all beat these particular types of Pokemon that you need to beat. So having them all kind of sorted like that, like knowing that you can get a grass check in round 1 or 2 in your kind of like superstar Pokemon, but you can also get one in round 5 or 6. Just knowing that the value of this particular Pokemon is different, and knowing how you can comp your team as you go based on where you project things to go. And that's like it's more of an advanced level drafter thing, but as you do more drafts, you learn kind of like the feel of where things go and how things are valued, and you start getting better at putting teams together as 1 through 6, because every Pokemon in any given matchup could be your MVP. So they
And
all kind of matter.
speaking of coverage, we're gonna see if Winston can pick a water Pokemon. Winston has gone with Shiftry, which I do believe means that they've just conceded to any fire Pokemon.
Yeah, you just say swap Talonflame. See you later. Have a good one.
Mccargo, actually, I've been really enjoying in Great League, Open Great League. I think that could be a terrible time as well. Or even just like this Hypno, right? This Hypno with Fire Punch is just going to be a really, really bad time.
Yeah, I see JV Rocha, his F-Gab looked like a terrible time for Winston.
Yeah.
There's some Pokemon that definitely have some issues with it, but I think that you have a lot of play against teams that don't have some of the problem Pokemon. So like you do have a lot of answers. It's all about matchups. If you can 3-1 or 4-0 a couple matchups where you have the advantage, it can negate those losses, or maybe you can pull out a 2-2 against somebody that has a problem Pokemon and count that as a win for you pretty much.
Right.
Like
Thunderfang Steelix for Talonflame. Yeah, I actually don't
that's
mind.
that's not a bad idea. It just is. It still will lose, but it's just a little bit just too slow against Talonflame speed. But yeah,
Everyone pick a fire Pokemon round 6. Yeah, you could.
I was reading through all the picks of like stuff that was available still that people mentioned in the chat, and I am extremely surprised that Dragalge has not been picked.
Yes.
Because it is
That was actually on my list, but I already had the shared ground weakness, and I didn't love going into a Ufisk. So I went with the Hakamoto.
No, yeah, but like I look at some of these teams, and the Dragalge could be great, especially teams that might have like a grass weakness. Mother Shadows with a Skunk Tank. I like that. They definitely needed a charm answer. So they have some good steel coverage. They have some good fighting coverage. They have, they could have issues with flyers potentially, depending on which. But there's not a lot. Like, in that team, I think everything on that team has shadow potential as well. So there could be a lot of
Past games, one way or another.
shadow, a lot of bulk one game, a lot of shadow like speed the next game. There's a lot of fast move pressure on the team in general. Multiple fast moves that do multiple Pokemon with fast moves that do 3 to 4 damage or 3+ damage each. That team's gonna hit hard for sure.
I actually would have liked if Winston would have picked Mccargo, I think.
it would definitely shore up the fire matchup, but that's for sure.
Yeah.
But then like I don't know, you have three things that would be. I guess you still did with Shifter. You just have three things that are weak to counter.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't really be different in that regard. In draft, I don't like to have more than. Me personally, I don't like to have more than like two things that are weak to counter. Like I'd prefer to have one thing that's weak to counter and one thing that's neutral, and then four things that kind of resist it. Just because counter is such a oppressive move that if you can't answer it, you're in a tough spot always. But Mccargo would have been an interesting pick for sure.
JD available to pick up basically anything they want at this point. I could see maybe another grass answer. Just like super flexible at this point.
JD's only problem to me is that a 2 shield charmer can just run through his team.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has some stuff that he can get shields back from stuff or do different, like have some play if their shields down, but he doesn't have a reliable charm counter. Like he doesn't have a poison. He has a poison jabber and Toxie, but it also takes neutral, and that matchup's not the best because Toxie is so frail as opposed to some of the dark poisons with a little bit more stat product.
Right. So still available. We could pick up a Golbat.
He does need a blue Pokemon. That is a great point by Kelsey. That all his Pokemon have blue tint. So okay, he is some Mccargo. That is a interesting
That is
pick.
certainly a charm answer.
He has a very strong charm answer and an answer for Talon, an answer for any kind of flyer.
Ices.
It'll have a lot of solid neutral matchups. If it's not weak to something, he has a lot of Pokemon that have nice play. He has a couple Pokemon that have really nice play against like the water Pokemon and ground Pokemon. So he does have that kind of coverage to go with it. Mccargo and Jellicent are pretty good duo together. I like that pick.
I do too. I think this is probably my favorite team just so far as JD's. So well rounded. Good amount of bulk, good amount of damage.
Yeah, I think I like JD's team a lot. I'd want to see Mike's last pick. I think those two teams seem to be the most well-rounded to me. I think in the next tier under that is Rosha, and then I would give your team and Hannah's team as kind of like the tier below that, and then I think the other teams have like more obvious holes or weaknesses, but they still can shore them up a little bit with these last picks and fix up some of their things, and also it's going to be the driver and not necessarily the card too. The player can play out of the situations or adjust move sets for one particular week, to cover some weaknesses. So it's not over for them just because they're weak to something.
So we're waiting for our last pick to finally pair with Regirock. See.
Gliscor, I really like that pick. I'm not a fan of having two things double weak to ice, but you do have Regirock, Escav, and Samurott as really strong ice answers, and your Grimer still has neutral matchups against ice unless you have like unless there's like an Alolan Sandslash or Sandshrew or something picked, but which are also both still on the board that are solid Pokemon that could shore up grass coverage and answers for people. So
it's time for Mike's pick.
Now Mike has a lot of flexibility here because Mike has, I think that his charm answer is not the strongest, but can put him in an advantageous situation with it, and he has a lot of neutral stuff. Like the double A9 matchup is not tremendous for A9 as a charmer even. Like it still has to shield, and double is very bulky. Whiskash can usually get a shield off of a charmer. Same with Frostlaugh. So they have some play. Keep the charmer away from Mandibuzz, you know, and you're in a good spot with that team. Mandibuzz acts as extra shields for the more flimsy Pokemon.
I wonder if we see something also to maybe just be able to deal specifically with the Dragonite team, because with potential Shadow Dragon Breath, Shadow Charm, Shadow Confusion coming through, I think we might need a solid resist to that of some sort of steel.
Yeah,
I think that's the only thing that really covers all of our bases, and specifically against that team, like you're really just looking at Earthquakes and double kicks coming out. The steel would even sort of wall with a steel with shields would sort of wall our Skuntank as well. Skunk tank, gotta work on that one.
Yeah, I could see that. That's pretty interesting. I like that team a lot. So I think that this last pick is not gonna make it or break it, but can definitely help it in some of its weaknesses. So
yeah, I think at this point we're really just picking for like counter picking another team.
yeah, and I like Mike has taken a lot of time on his picks, but like he's come away with a great team because of it. So like, I think it's a great, like, you're doing your research, you're paying attention, like he's putting in the effort to make sure that his team is good, and it's gone well. So
Oh, we got typing.
we're
Mike
getting
is typing.
close. Oh, there we go.
Disappeared. Mike teasing us with potential picks.
He's gonna wait about 35 seconds and then send it. Boom. And take all his 15 minutes.
Orbidon trash. I like it. Steel type.
I like that. I like that pick.
Cover everything.
You get another grass answer, which you have a lot of grass answers that can pair with Whiskash and now pair with your Quillfish as well, and you get a hard charm answer. You already have some play against fire types, obviously. Not that there's a lot of them, but even the Frostlass against the fire flying. Oh, this is a great pick by Alvaro.
I'm sad.
The
I
quick
already
attack.
powered one up for Masters. Yeah.
The new quick attack Victini is something.
Very
Seems
spammy.
really good. I know like Toshi has been using it a lot on his streams and stuff, and has like a clip of him beating like 2 water types up a shield and then like finishing out a DD with it, and like this thing just absolutely just does damage. So,
and flexible moveset too, right?
Yeah, you
have options for a couple different nukes.
You have a grass resist and another charm resist, and just overall spamminess, and a steel answer as well for some of your charmer and your Drapion and stuff. Gengar here.
Gengar coming up.
Let's see.
Well,
I like it. They have
bulky.
A lot of dark answers.
Yeah.
I think that it's I think it's good. It can get shields. They have a lot of other stuff that has some bulk to it. So having something that's a little bit more of a glass cannon, like real threat to take things out, can balance that out.
Blanks the fighting types, which I like. And with Wiggly off the board, like with Wiggly on their team, it can do damage to Charmers.
There's an interesting. I like the Drifblim pick. I just think that because their first 2 picks are so good and so strong against a lot of the steel types and stuff, that you can kind of load up on a few things that don't necessarily beat or that have rougher times with steels in the back. So like they have a lot of flexibility, and a lot of this team has a bunch of safe swaps, which they have a bunch of things that in certain matchups can just come in and up a little energy. Driftbloom starts icy winding things, or Greedent starts getting energy advantage, or Abomasnow goes up a little bit against a team that doesn't have a hard counter for it. I think that team's very solid. Um, Sylvester's team has a lot going on.
There,
There's a bunch of different things, and it's like you're kind of weak to this, but you have like a real hard answer for it here, and you're kind of good against this, but you have a real strong
interesting.
answer here. I actually was thinking to myself that Obstagoon would be great because Obstagoon, when you ban Scrafty,
Mhm.
or when someone bans Scrafty, Obstagoon and Coffin is almost an unbreakable neutral damage core outside of, like getting two shielded through with Charm or something, but you do have a Steel type, you have a Tentacruel, you have that Galarian Articuno to cover your fighters with Obstagoon. Like the Dark Psychic pairing and Dark Ghost pairing are really nice.
And the
So
poison out of Tentacruel to also cover that
yeah,
fighting. Yeah.
Obstagoon is a really solid pick here. That I'm surprised that it went that it went this late. I was gonna be really shocked if there was a draft where just Obstagoon didn't get drafted. It is just so overall good.
So now we got Hannah's last pick. Oh,
JD
Goon was
saying
on a
that
short
Goon
one.
will not short. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you never know like where things will go, and so like Goon could have gone taken in any pick in this draft, and I wouldn't have been surprised. Well, I was surprised by how late it went, but it could have gone in. It could have been Hannah's first pick, and I would have been like, okay, that's a good pick. Like Obstagoon does things. It's always doing things. Every five
Hannah's going with
turns.
Luxray.
That's interesting.
That is
Luxray is a
interesting.
Luxray is a has a lot of moves now.
Yeah.
Did it get more? Did it get something else added?
I
I
don't
know it
think so.
had fangs. It uh has
Pretty sure
wild
it has
charge.
Crunch and Wild
It has
Charge, but Crunch
crunch.
looks
Yeah,
pretty good in this Ghost meta.
yeah. It is pretty wild. Crispy Chris said that no Milk Tank or Dunsparce. Like I'm very surprised by that. Like those are just you can't you can't fake bulk. Like bulk is just either there or it's not, and having bulky Pokemon is good. And like the fact that some of them didn't go, but there's a lot of the teams have some bulky stuff. There was a lot of bulk remaining uh, after the bans, and I think that a lot of these teams did really well. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I think in after it's all said and done, like I think that hey, it's Mike and JD definitely solidified their teams as the two best in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I am not looking forward to trying to figure a way through
Yeah,
those teams.
I wouldn't know. Not gonna be a good time. Um, but yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Like I said, I think nothing changed in the last round. I think Sylvester's team got a little bit better, probably in the higher end of like the third tier of teams uh with Olivero as well. Those last two picks really helped their team a lot with needs and what they
Mhm.
were looking for. And but yeah, Mike, JD, Rocha, uh, your team, and Hannah's are probably the five. And then I actually like Sylvester and Random and Olivero's team too a little bit there as like kind of the second tier of team or the next tier of teams. The first two are definitely Mike and JD. Those teams are great. Um,
So I think before we wrap this all up, for every live draft we do, we have to shout out the time winner, which is the person who needed the least amount of time to make their picks. And
nice.
today, by a whopping 3 minutes, it looks like it's going to Oliviero. who picked their entire draft in under 1.5 minutes.
That's really actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
They were quick.
It's
That's pretty.
very
So
good.
it's an average of 15 seconds per pick.
Yeah, it's a pretty balanced team too.
Yeah, it's a good team. I don't think any team is bad. I think that the teams are just have different things to them. Like some teams I would be happy if I got. Some teams I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna have to like figure some things out. Like I'm gonna have to play a very specific way against matches, but that's kind of the fun of it. It's like we don't know necessarily what the person was seeing for themselves or what their play style is or how they value all the picks that they made. So
Right. Also, live draft is just like a completely different game.
yeah,
Right. Once that clock starts running,
it gets on you,
heart
and then
starts racing. Decisions go poorly.
you're sitting there 5 picks away, and someone grabs that frost last before you, and you start scrambling, thinking about what you're gonna grab.
Yep.
But what are your how do you feel about the teams? Who are you besides JD and Mike? Who are you least looking forward to playing? Which team are you not pumped about?
Oh man. Well, I guess I'd have to look at all my weaknesses. I don't really have great charm answers. So like I'm not super excited to fight the fairies, but I do just have a bunch of really bulky mons that might be able to work their way through them.
Yeah.
For as much flack as we gave Winston for just dying to fire types, I don't have a fire type.
Yeah.
So like that also looks questionable. Although Vigoroth looks like it's going to be able to smack its way through a bunch of the team, just being able to pump out body slams.
The Vigoroth spam is pretty vicious.
Yeah.
And it's like part of the reason why I like Mike's team as much is because he has the double. So it's like he has the other Vigoroth kind of in a way. Like those mon are just so hard to deal with in a draft where you don't have a lot of like hard counters. A lot of the good counter users get banned, and even like Vigoroth they swap into like a Primate or like the Shadow Machamp or something. Like if you don't shield the body slam, they can just win. Like you can just decide to shield and farm down afterwards and win switch if it's like absolutely mandatory.
I think Hannah's team also looks tough.
Yeah.
Just, I struggle with Cresselia. It's one of the things I always hate facing in Great League. I apparently just build teams that die to Moonblast Grass Knot, so.
Yeah, I think you have some Cresselia answers this time, for sure. Sorry. You have some Cresselia answers on your team, but yeah, I think that you may have some issues with that Tropius.
I really think it's going to be alignment. Alignment against Hannah's team is going to be the big thing.
Yeah, that is that Tropius in the 4th round is really a great grab. I'm super. What was your most like surprising thing that didn't get drafted?
Oh gosh, probably Galv, right? Like it has to be Galv.
I didn't even think about Galv. That is a really surprising one. I usually like Galv in draft because its typing is so unique that there's just limited counters for it.
It also usually gets banned, so I'm surprised that Galv made it all the way through.
I think Galv, if I can't even remember Galv. If I had remembered Galv, I would have said that. Definitely the Dragalge. That's super surprising to me. For me personally, I feel like Empoleon is really good, just because its typing is so good and being able to be a charm answer and a flying answer and have good matchups against like neutrally against things. It's really good, but
steel that doesn't roll over to fires too.
Yeah, and like but it does seem in drafts a lot that Empoleon gets a little overlooked because I don't think it's not super bulky. It's reliably fast on when it throws moves, but it's not super spammy. But it is pretty good overall. But I'm not super surprised to see it go as much as the Dragalge for sure. The Dragalge is like super surprising to me. dragon type that beats fighters is really strong. So yeah.
Yeah, we do love our Empoleons here at PoGoRaids. Shout out to Empoleon Double Charm.
Yeah, Lapras as well. That's an interesting one because Lapras is just so bulky. Like you can't get bulk like that in a lot of Pokemon. And that's the thing about drafts is all drafts, you know, like there's always going to be something left out. There's always something that gets drafted by someone and then they realize afterwards, like, maybe I should have drafted this. Maybe I should have taken that. Like, oh, that was available? Oh, dang. Like, so I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season. I'm definitely going to keep tabs on it. Are the matches for this league going to be streamed?
Great question. So we will have a couple of like update streams over the course of the next couple of weeks. So battlers this season are allowed to submit their own battles, and we will be having streams and basically viewing parties for user submitted battles. It will be curated, so we're gonna make sure only the finest for all of our Pogo Raiders. But yeah, so I know I'll be submitting some battles. No promises that they'll come out victories, but yeah, if anybody watching has any requests, we can always forward those through to battlers. If there are Pokemon you really want to see, you can do that as well. But yeah, anybody who has battles and is willing to submit, which I believe is everybody but 2 of our participants, we will definitely be having battles shown here, and you can check out our Twitter for any information about when those will be coming out.
Cool. I'm sure people will be looking forward to seeing those battles.
Yeah. So we want to give some quick shout outs. Chrissy Lulu, thank you so much for helping to run the stream and everything today. Kelsey taking care of all those pictures on the fly, especially all of the spice pics. Polar Bears is one of the social media people and does so much work behind the scenes to make sure all this gets done. And Hannah/RARBooks for running the stream and drafting today and setting up all of our Twitch. We really want to thank you for that. And we want to thank you as well, Jack Bulls, for joining us for hopefully the first of many ventures on the PoGoRaids Twitch stream.
Yeah, I had a great time. It was great to cast with you. I think it was fun to be here with someone that was drafting as well. Like not just 2 people just sitting around talking about what everyone's doing, but seeing someone's actually do it and the thought process behind it. And yeah, everybody did amazing. Like Kelsey, the real MVP for the pictures. Like having Galarian Articuno ready before we could even say it is like that signifies it right there. Like that's GOAT level stuff. And yeah, everybody else did it amazing. Like I had a great time, so I would love to come back sometime and cast games or drafts. So cool.
Well, we also want to thank all the viewers for being here. If you are interested in draft, our most recent season actually just started yesterday, but we do run things called blitz drafts through the servers. So you show up, you tell us the format you want, and we'll try to throw together 8 people to draft in one day, play battles over the course of a weekend, go from there. We also have raid challenges for the more PvE interested players. But join the Discord, check it out. There's a lot of great challenges, a lot of great people to meet. And right now, I believe this is where we look for a raid. So anybody have great... Oh, we already are raiding inadequates.
We're raiding inadequates.
Make sure you refresh that browser. Get those follows for them. Have a great weekend.
Later, guys.